A very good morning, class. Uh, in this class, we will continue with our second chapter, that is weather and climate. In the previous class, I explained you the meaning of weather, climate, and explained you the 4 different seasons of India and what is the difference between weather and climate. So in today's class, we will discuss about causes for variation in climate. See, there are 6 causes for the variation in climate, that is, first is distance from the equator, latitude. Second is influence of human being. Third is distance from sea. Fourth is humidity. Fifth is height above sea level. And sixth is wind. Okay, so now I will explain you each. First, let us study about the distance from the equator or latitude. Latitude gives the location of a place on a earth to the north or south of the equator. Yes or no? The farther away from the equator a location is, the less sunlight the location receives. As I told you, equator receives the direct sun rays, whereas if the place is farther away from the equator, the less sunlight it will receive. The sun rays fall directly on the equator. The sun's rays hit earth in straight line. But as the earth is spherical in shape, as we have discussed in the previous chapter in globes and maps, yes or no about the shape of the earth, they spread out more at the poles than they do at the equator. The farther a place is from the equator, the colder it is the climate. The farther a place, jitni zyada dur hogi, the climate will be cold. Thus, all places near the equator receive maximum. Let us see this picture. Sun rays are coming directly to the earth. Yes or no? This is the equator. The sun rays are directly hitting the equator. Whereas the places that are away from the equator will receive the minimum heat from the sun, and these places will be hot as compared to these places, as they are receiving less heat from the sun, and these places are receiving more heat from the sun. Earth is divided into different heat zones depending on the amount of heat received from the sun. As I've shown you the picture, the 3 climatic zones are as follows. First is the torrid zone. The area on both sides of the equator between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn is called the torrid zone. This region is hot throughout the year. The torrid zone receives the maximum heat as it is near the equator. Yes or no? And this region is hot throughout the year. Now let us see the picture. See. This is the equator, yes or no? And this is these are torrid zones. This receives the maximum heat as it is near the equator. Now let us study about the second heat zone. Second is the temperate zone. The area between the Tropic of Cancer and the Arctic Circle and the Tropic of Capricorn and the Antarctic Circle is called the temperate zone. This region is neither too hot nor too cold. As I told you about torrid zone, it was hot throughout a year as it was near to equator. But when we talk about temperate zone, this region is neither too hot nor too cold. Let us see in the picture first. See. This is the temperate zone, yes or no? And this is away from equator. So this region remains neither too hot nor too cold. Now let us discuss the third heat zone, that is the frigid zone. The area between the Arctic Circle and the North Pole and the Antarctic Circle and the South Pole is called the frigid zone. The zone receives very little heat from the sun. The ground here is permanently frozen for most of the year. The winters are very cold. Now let us see frigid zone in the picture. See. This is the frigid zone, yes or no? And this is far away from equator. So this is the In this, the ground is permanently frozen for most of the year as it is far away from equator and the winters are very cold. Now let us talk about the second cause for variation of climate, that is distance from the sea. Water bodies get heated up and cooled very slowly when compared to the heating and cooling of the land. So when the land is hot in summer, the water body is still cool, and in winter when the land is cold, the water body is warm. Hence, places near the coast have a mild climate. As we all know, water bodies get heated and cooled up slowly when it is compared by the heating and cooling of the land. So when the land is hot in summer, the water body is still cool, and in winter when the land is cold, the water body is warm. Hence, places near the coast have a mild climate. Why mild climate? What is the meaning of mild climate? Not too hot, not too cold. As I told you, when the land is hot in summer, the water body is still cool. When the land is hot and water body is cool, it will cause a mild climate, yes or no? Moderate climate. And with same, and in winter when the land is cold, the water body is warm, and when the land is cold but the water body is warm, so it is causing the mild climate or moderate climate, that means nor hot nor cold. Okay, so let us study about the third cause, that is height above the sea level. At a high altitude, air becomes thinner and hence absorbs and retains less heat. This is why it is cooler up in the hills than in plains. Thus, the temperature on top of the mountain is lower than height above sea level. As I told you, at a high altitude, air becomes thinner and its capacity to absorb or to retain heat becomes less. This is why it is cooler up in the hills than in plains. That's why in the hills it is cooler, whereas if I talk about plains, thus the temperature on the top of the mountain is lower than the plains. That why if we go to any hill station or on mountain, we feel cold because the temperature is lower than the plains.